Hi everyone, and welcome to the latest round of IronQuest feedback. In this session, we're going to be reviewing the vizzes that were submitted as part of the viz or a year or decade round. So this is the one we ran around October, November, right through to December actually, because we extended it in 2021. This idea initially started as an idea from Judit Bekker, where she said we should viz the year or decade that we were born. And then we changed it a little bit because we thought, maybe people don't want to expose the year that they were born or the decade that they were born. So we expanded it to kind of viz any year or decade. So we've got about 18 vizzes to review today, and they will be included in a blog post as well, as always. And this time we're actually going to run in reverse alphabetical order. So we're going to start with people's surnames at the end of the alphabet first, and then we'll work down back through to A. That's just to help people that always last, because their name is at the end of the alphabet, just like mine. So we're going to put you up first this time. But I'm really excited today to be joined by Judit Bekker. So for those that don't know Judit, she's a Tableau Zen master and really famous for all of her great vizzes and designs in Tableau and in other tools as well. So welcome, Judit.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much. It's been really great collaborating with you on this, and I'm super excited for our conversation today and to go through the vizzes with you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, great. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so the first viz that we're going to review today is by Varun, and it's on Denmark's renewable energy journey. So this one looks like it was a Make of a Monday that Varun then later submitted for IronQuest, which is absolutely fine. When I don't know about you, Judit, when I was looking at this viz, I did wonder kind of how it fitted the theme of viz a year or decade. I think maybe the focus on 2020 was the kind of like the one thing that kind of held it through, but I don't know. I was just struggling to see how it fitted the theme myself.
Yeah, same here. Like the theme is really flexible, so almost everything fits. But this seems to be a bit of a stretch. But of course, it can be related to 2020 or a decade or 20 years or so. So yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, as with anything IronViz, IronQuest, super broad, so it is what you make it. And if you're entering IronViz this time, it's the theme is visualizing the art, so that can be anything kind of art related, whether that be art itself or what you consider to be art. As long as you make it clear that your how your viz fits that theme, you should be good. So anyway, I digress. So in this viz, it looks like Varun is looking at Denmark in particular and their transformation to greener energy sources versus other countries in the European Union. So I like how in this chart over here, Denmark is highlighted in green, and that's kind of like a theme throughout the viz as well. So we can see where like Denmark fits in that whole grand scheme of things. And then, we've used the same kind of, we've used green throughout, but I think green has a different meaning in some of these charts.
From a color point of view, what I really like is using the gray color palette and then having one accent color. I really love that approach, and I feel the connection to the green. But I noticed as well that green is used for Denmark and then for wind and for bio, and it's a bit confusing, but looks nice.
I agree. I like the fact that we really only have two colors here, like you say, so it's green and gray, and I think those colors work nicely together as well. I do like how the story is, I guess, again, like I said, the story is pulling out that information on Denmark specifically and how Denmark compared versus other countries, and we see that over on the bar chart and also on the line charts as well. One thing I thought about on the bar chart is we don't have any axes labels or like mark labels apart from Denmark. So it would be helpful if we could have either labels against all the bars or maybe the max, min and Denmark as well, just for that context. So I get it when I hover over, but on first glance, I just don't know, what that percentage for Austria is, for instance.
Yeah. The other thing I really liked is that there's maybe it's the chart type or subtitle, but there's from a storytelling point of view, that call out that Denmark's share of total energy is the second highest, while it was the 12th in rank in 2000. That's a really nice touch. What I would do differently is that I noticed that for those little donuts, altogether those four can be added up to 100%. So if this is the case, I would have used a different visualization. I like 0%, and then I realized that the one that we are talking about is always green, and it's always the others that are gray. So it's a bit confusing to me. This wouldn't be my first chart type to choose, but maybe
Yeah,
it's just...
I get what you're saying. So that the whole is 100%. So of which 76% is wind, 23% is bio.
Yeah.
That, So I agree. It might have been better as its own kind of one donut, right? Where you could have had, if you wanted to take that approach, where you had different sections for these different things.
Yeah.
I guess it's difficult because solar looks like it's 0. I don't know what's going on there. I'm not sure. On the chart below, it looks like wind and solar are kind of combined together as one, and that's probably how the data set came. So it's a bit awkward, dealing with that. But then hydro is obviously only a very tiny share as well. So if we put that into its own like a one single donut chart, then we'd barely be able to see it, right?
Yeah, maybe if maybe I would make like 3 categories, like wind, bio, and then others. And it would still make a great donut chart. Like categories.
Yeah, I agree. Going back to the point you made about this title up here around, and then how they're calling out that, adding some context to say that Denmark stands in second highest. I do like how we have that commentary running throughout. So above every chart, there's a little bit of an explanation around what's going on, and I think that really it makes for a really nice storytelling experience.
Yeah.
This biz kind of flows really well.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Any other feedback before I move on?
Not really. It's nice and clean.
Yeah. Great job, Varun. All right, next up we have a viz by Stefan, and this is looking at 2015, a year in TV. So I was having fun with this viz earlier when I was looking at it, but this is based on TV in the United Kingdom, where I'm from. So just for some context, the channels that you see at the top here are like 5 main terrestrial TV channels, and then I think it's looking at the TV shows that were broadcast in those channels. And there's a ton of stuff to this bit. Like it's much more than meets the eye when you initially look at it.
Yeah, I think this is what I spend the most time on.
Yeah, me too. And I was like getting sucked into the story as well. Like some really fun interactivity here. So on this slide, so we put different tabs. I'll work through them one by one. So we start off on the overview. This is looking at all of the TV shows that were shown in 2015. And I think this is the number of viewers for each of them, and they each have a symbol in terms of the type of show that they are. So we can filter the chart at the bottom. So if we want to look at soaps or soap operas, which I love, is a kind of a soap pump thing. I think that's really cool. Like soap operas in the UK, there's very popular. So you can see, how the viewing count went, and then you break it down by different genres of drama, reality, that kind of thing. So I do like that approach. And you can see here just at first glance that reality TV shows like Great British Bake Off, I think, which was particularly popular in 2015, because I think that's the year that I don't watch it, but I want to say Nadia won. But it was a popular year for that.
Yeah, I watched that.
Okay.
Like, I'm a huge Mary Berry fan.
Awesome.
She's my top icon. So
I hate to say I've never watched a single episode. But I know what it is. But I do like how that stands out. But I think my criticism of this chart would be, at first glance, it's quite overwhelming. because we have lots of different things shown and lots of different icons, and where we have everything kind of clustered together, it makes it quite difficult to kind of understand what's going on.
Yeah, I had the same feeling that the colors and the icons make it a bit crowded. However, I like that the icon style is consistent. But yeah, I felt the same, but I was it was a nice pleasure when I found out that the other tabs are more clean, and I really love the others.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, absolutely. Now I was thinking about, okay, so we have this and how can we make it better? And I do like the experience. I like the fact you can, click on one and isolate that. And so I was thinking maybe if instead of using the shape mark type, which we're using in this scatter plot, we could just have, regular, like a scatter plot kind of circle marks, keep the icons, and then you'd get an overall sense of viewing kind of over the year, without that kind of overload of all these different kind of mark types on the chart itself.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, but let's move on to the fun stuff. So we have most watched, and it took me a while to figure out how this chart was kind of working.
Me too.
So because we've got the different channels, like, so in this case, I think because it's red, like BBC One, so we can see on the left we've got the months of the year, and then the show name, which is shown here, is the most popular or most watched show of that month, right? So we see things like EastEnders, which is a soap opera that's shown on BBC One.
Yeah.
But what threw me with this chart was the bars, because I was like, okay, we've got the bars and we've got the circles. It's like, what? It took me a while to figure out. Okay, so if we filter to BBC One, what are the circles for the other channels kind of signifying? Did you think the same?
Yeah, it took me a little time to realize that whatever I select on the top will be the bar chart, and the rest will be dots.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was like, huh. So it's like, I know, like, I know the channel that some of these are shown on, like EastEnders is famously BBC One, right? So that's what kind of threw me off at first. I like the fact that we're not losing context by narrowing it down to a channel. We can still see what was popular on the other channels. We can see, for instance, in April, Britain's Got Talent got more views than EastEnders, which I would expect. But I would suggest changing, and I don't know what you think on this, Judit, but changing this so they were all circle marks. So, and then maybe just using a highlight or something to highlight the channel each time.
Yeah, either that or I mean, I wouldn't mind if it stayed like this, but since these are really complicated dashboards and a lot is going on, maybe like an info button or oh, there's an info button.
There is an info button, yeah. So I didn't, and the info button here is really detailed, because I was going to say when I first saw this, oh, like, what's the data source? What are we looking at here? And there's actually a really detailed info button, which I completely missed. And I think you did too, because it looks like it's just part of the design and it doesn't look like a button. So yeah, I would, so there is, and it does tell you how to use it as well, which is how I kind of figured out the top buttons were channels and they were also filters.
Yeah, I think you really have to spend some time realizing what's going on. But for me, I didn't lose interest, so I was curious about what's going on here. Otherwise, I would just click away and finish watching it. But yeah, it can be more clear, but it's still exciting the way it is. It can be better, but
yeah. And let's keep going, because it gets really fun. So I absolutely love this tab, reality TV, because we have some context around what's going on, and
this is my favorite.
Yeah, and what I love about it is the fact that these shows typically only run one at a time at certain times of the year. So you'll have like The Voice, like obviously that's singing, and then you or talent show, and then you have other shows that pick up at different times. But I really love how we have these like these moments that happened, and it's almost like nostalgic in a way, because some people might remember some of these moments are very famous. I'm sure if you British Bake Off, I'm sure you remember some of these. I just love that we have this additional storytelling going on, and I think this is BBC One. If we click through, there might not be any on BBC Two. Okay, Dragon's Den. ITV is the typical, like, there's a lot of reality TV on ITV. So we've got, Britain's Got Talent.
I wonder how much work went into this one, but it seems like a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. But I do love this for storytelling. And then we see the same thing with Soap Wars. So in the UK, this famously that all the soap kind of battle it out to see who can get the most views, and they have these like really like compelling storylines where like somebody would die or someone would disappear, someone will, I don't know, it's crazy stuff happens, and at Christmas something really dramatic happens. That's probably why you've got this kind of spike here. But I do love how he's compared EastEnders and Coronation Street, which are two of the most famous soap operas. I just thought it was really fun.
Like I would say overall, like the first tab didn't really blow me away, but the rest are really, really good examples of storytelling and interactivity. So
yeah,
I think it's a really nice dashboard, and it's clearly visible that a lot of work went into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, great job. I enjoyed it as well. I just spent a lot of time looking at this one. Okay, so moving on, we have a viz by Simon, and Simon always enters IronQuest. So really appreciate all of your support, Simon. And I've changed the order of the names this time just for you, because I know last time you were at the end. So this viz looks at the top 10 video games of the 90s based on Simon's view. So what the games that he thinks were the best. And like, I remember when this viz came out and I saw it on Twitter, that instantly everyone was like, this is so like nostalgic. You have all the kind of, I think it's taken the Super Mario design predominantly, but it's just very 90s, right? Which I thought was really fun.
Yeah, when I first interacted with this dashboard, and I later realized where the interactivity part comes in. But since a lot is going on in the background, and I see why, it was really hard to differentiate for me what is a button and what is not.
Yes, yeah, I got lost. So it says click here and here. So I clicked here, so click 90s, and then we kind of get some context as to when these games were released, and also what I really like is kind of Simon's own like ratings of them. So like love versus time pass, like, because it's interesting because he might love it but he might not play it so much, and I thought that was quite an interesting analysis. And then we have what was I don't know about your thoughts on this, but what I was surprised at when I saw this was the number 10, and I think I've interpreted this correctly, but number 10 is his most favorite, not number 1.
Oh, wow. I haven't realized. I was trying to grasp what these are, because these are entirely different games than I was playing. So.
I mainly played Sonic. That was like my kind of go-to. So.
Yeah, but from a storytelling perspective, and I really like it. Like I'm really a sucker for visualizing self data. So I just can't not love it.
Yeah, I like the way it's unique. You have the unique kind of line approach, the timeline. One thing that I noticed was that when we click the 90s button, the favorites button is in front of the text here. It's just like a layering thing gone wrong. But if I click favorites, I'm not sure if anything happens.
It loads for me. There was one time I managed to see it. It was a list of games with icons, but now it's just loading. So
okay, it was like a grid, right? Because I saw it when I looked at it earlier. So you had
it looked like an image grid.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I did see it. It's not working right now. Oh no.
Yeah, but okay, it's coming up.
It's coming up, but it's coming up in the background. Like whereas before I had the whole thing. But one thing I couldn't get to.
I think you need to unclick the 1990, and then the other will move to the foreground. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. So I like this for some additional context to make sure that no game was left out.
Yeah.
You have a very good memory, Simon, to remember that you played all these games. But one thing. So if we go back to nine, I can't. Right, I need to unclick favorites. One thing I couldn't get to were the years and the best ones, and I don't know if they're intentionally not buttons and they're just maybe that's more of a like a key or something. I'm not sure, but I couldn't find out how to kind of get to those to click on them.
Like it looks like a pinball design element to me. It reminds me of pinball machines.
Yeah,
but I really like when I click on the 1990s and then the storytelling part comes up, because this is the only view, I guess, when the background is a little bit blurred out, so I can easily take out what he wants to say, and the noise is a bit taken away. So this is my favorite view of the dashboard.
Yeah, mine too. And I like how we have context as well. So we have some text here around, why he loves games from the 90s. I mean, who doesn't, right? But yeah, no, I agree. I do like that approach. Yeah, great job, Simon. And thank you for entering once again. All right, so the next one is by Satoshi. And this is looking at 3 different years of USA air travel.
I'm really biased about him because I think I don't even have to look. I know it's great. And it will involve a map. That's the 2 things I'm sure of. A map, and it's going to be great.
It has a map, absolutely. Like Satoshi does great maps, and he does a lot of dark backgrounds with like very crisp kind of white designs on them. So this one indeed has a map, but the map's in the background, and I think it's not interactive or anything. It's just there to add some additional context. But here we're looking at 3 years, so 2019, 2020, and 21, and how air travel has changed. In 2019, relatively normal, and then obviously we all know what happened in 2020, and then how things have kind of come back to life a little bit in 2021.
I love a lot of things about this. Like he clearly has his own style, so I would recognize this is his whiz from 1000. And the story is really clear here. I love the color usage, the storytelling part. The only thing I don't get is that this map seems like a really detailed one that one spent a lot of time on. So if it were me, I wouldn't do a map just for it to be in the background, or I would add it to the limelight.
Yeah, no, I agree. Because as you say, it looks like he's put a lot of time into the map, and I think this is probably built in Tableau, I assume. It looks like the kind of thing that could be. And yet it's almost just there as an image, right? It would be nice to be able to interact to see, where were people traveling in 2020?
Yeah.
And we can't because the map's an image. What a couple of things I like about it, like what you just said as well, but also I like the fact he's included the 7-day moving average. So that kind of smooths the line, because I think a lot of these fluctuations are around just general trends, like week to week, where people maybe travel for work and then go home at the weekend and that kind of thing. So that kind of smooths that line out, and I really like that. And you can clearly see kind of both lines. But if we're thinking kind of like with an IronViz like hat on, it would be nice if there was some annotations or even just reference signs or something additional on these charts to say, okay, like in 2020, like COVID hit here, and that's why we saw like kind of drops off completely, right? That's why we saw a drop in air traffic, travel, and also just explaining some of like maybe the seasonal fluctuations. Because I think over here, we don't have. There's no tooltip, so I can't tell you exactly where. But I think we have we have Thanksgiving and Christmas, and I think those are the peaks. It's probably Christmas in December, but that you see here. But it would be nice if there was some annotations or maybe just some reference lines, because we're going to have the same point in every year, right, where the key holidays happen. And also just a tooltip so we could see when you hover over like what date that is.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on annotations, but since we are all familiar with what's happening, like even without annotations, I can get the gist of the storytelling at the first glance, even though annotations could have added more richness to it.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, this is like there's no denying what happened there, right? But no, I really like it. I like how it's quite simple, and kind of explains itself, like you say.
Yeah.
Okay, great job, Satoshi. The next one is by Sandeep, and this one's called The Freedom Struggle of India. This actually got Viz of the Day, so congratulations, Sandeep.
Oh, congratulations. I missed that.
Yeah. It's always good when an Iron Quest entry gets Viz of the Day. So this one looks at like India's like route to independence, and like Mahatma Gandhi and that story. And I love how this is presented like a newspaper, like a front page.
Yeah, me too. This was one of my favorites because of the design. And what I love about this is there's a lot of text elements on the dashboard, but I can still read it.
Mm-hmm.
That's really great.
And I think that's to be expected of the design as well, right? So because I was thinking about that, and I think if it's a newspaper, you would have text, and I think the way it's laid out, it's in a way where he's highlighted some key stories or keywords. I think it just makes it much easier to consume, right? Rather than having one huge block of text.
Yeah.
And the text does a great job of explaining, like, for example, what's happening in the timeline, some key events.
Yeah. One thing maybe I would do differently, but I'm a huge lover of white spaces, but maybe I would add a bit of more white space to the elements, but this is nice as it is.
Yeah, agreed. One thing I might change, if we think about it being a newspaper, and it probably wouldn't be interactive, is I might label some of the bars. So we're looking at the number of days here that Gandhi fasted for. So maybe just labeling, because again, like I said on one of the other vizzes, there's no axes, so we can't see like what these values are. So maybe labeling them min and max, or all of them, whatever your choice is. I think that would add some additional context.
And maybe annotations here as well.
Yeah, so maybe bringing out some of that information that we have in the tooltip. So some of the longest fasts, maybe just talking around like why he did them.
Yeah, or like an overall, like for the curved bar chart, or how is it, curved line chart, or this area for the peaks, like maybe I would have used some annotations here or there, because even though I like white space very much, I don't like it everywhere.
Yeah, agreed. One other thing I was thinking was this is all about the route to independence, and I think that in 1947 was when the Independence Act happened. So it would be nice perhaps if 1947 was maybe coloured in a different colour, to really highlight the fact that the line chart, I'm going to get it wrong now. The timeline is a route to 1947. Then 1947 it finally happened, right?
Yeah,
that might be nice.
I love the colors overall, by the way. Like again, there's this newspapery pastel color, and then the orange.
Yeah.
I love the color choice here as well. But yeah, maybe one more could have added more context to the story.
Yeah, I agree. And then one final thing in this filled line chart is we're looking at the number of deaths. So each of these numbers represent the number of people that died kind of along the journey. Now with this chart, I think we've got some, I say relatively no numbers here, but we're still talking about over 100 people that died each of these years. And the way that the chart is right now, it almost looks like it's a tiny number, but it's not. I mean, each of those lives mattered. So when I was looking at this before, I was thinking, is there another way we could have visualized this data to really emphasize the fact that so many people did die?
Yeah, agreed, totally.
Yeah, so I don't have an answer for that, because I mean we're talking huge numbers for some of these years, unfortunately. But I was just surprised that I think some of that context was lost in that chart choice.
Yes.
But I agree. I love the design, and I think it's great. And congratulations again on getting Viz of the Day.
Congrats.
Next up, we have Michelle Frayman, another Iron Quest.
I love it.
Iron Quest regular. Yeah, I do love it. So this one is all about the Beatles, and in 1969, how they performed. What was the last time they performed together? And it talks about their career and everything kind of leading up to 1969. And what surprised me about this viz, the side note, was I didn't realize that they were only active for such a short period of time. So that really kind of struck me when I looked at this.
Yeah, like I love everything. Like I love Michelle. I think she's amazing.
We all love Michelle.
Everything she does. But I think this might be the favorite viz of hers from my point of view. Like the topic, I love the Beatles. That font, I don't know what's that font, but it's just fits the theme perfectly. The colors, I love everything about this viz.
Yeah, I agree. I think, Michelle, this is my favorite viz of yours. If you're listening, I just love it. I think it's great, and like I say, it showed me something that, I mean, obviously I've grown up with the Beatles and knowing about them all my life, but I just did not know until I saw this viz that they were only together for 8 years, and that alone is like mind blowing for me. So yeah, I just love the design, and I think I mentioned this to her. I was like, when you got this black and white kind of approach, were you going for the Abbey Road like pedestrian crossing? Is that what it's supposed to represent? And it is. And I thought that was really cool how she kind of weaved in that that design choice.
Yeah, my favorite section is the live part. Like I love how she made it like the bar charts three-dimensional. Like there's a height and there's a width element to it, but that's not a Marimekko chart. I guess that's what's called. And that little star. So the storytelling here is exceptional for me. Like this is my favorite part.
Yeah, you're right. It's not a Marimekko quite, right? It's close, but I don't know if I've seen anyone do this before, but it's it's genius. I agree. So we're looking at, for context, so the height is the number of countries and the width is the number of live shows. We can see, for instance, in 1964, they did lots of live shows, but a lot of them were in England or Europe. But yeah, I agree that this bit's really interesting, and I like how she's called that out in a different color. And then we have this star in 69, which represents the final live performance.
Yeah, I really have to ask her what's the font she's using, because it's the perfect fit.
Yeah, and I like how the image just fits nicely at the bottom. Like so often, it's difficult to incorporate images on it. I don't need to tell you that. And you do it really well, but for me, it's difficult. But I think it just fits nicely. It fits with the colors. It just works.
Yeah.
I can't fault it. So great job, Michelle. All right. So next one we have is by Luke Abraham. And this is another one that I'm a big fan of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, not a lot of vizzes can convince me about vertical scrolling, but this can.
Yeah. So this viz, we're looking at the sinking of the Rainbow Warrior, which was a ship that was involved in nuclear testing. And before we go any further, I can just imagine this viz being like printed off on a board on a wall at a museum. I don't know if you know what I mean, but it just reminds me of things I've seen in museums.
Yeah.
It's just, it would be perfect for that. I just love the as you say, I'm not a huge fan of horizontal scrolling.
I realized I said it wrong.
Yeah, I was going to say vertical. Horizontal. I'm not a huge fan normally of it, but I think with this viz, it just works really, really well, and it helps.
Yeah.
Just condense that story down, so like each kind of tile is, telling a part of the story.
Yeah, actually, I thought about this, and I think it wouldn't be this great with vertical scrolling, when you scroll from top to bottom. So I thought about it because it's really hard for me to convince me about scrolling, but I love it, and I think it was a perfect choice.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And we've got it's really consistent. So with every kind of slide, we have consistent color use. So we've got like red here, and it's only red, and then the white text, and then orange, and then yellow, and then you can see that going through the viz. And one thing I want to mention as well, because I mentioned it on the previous viz we were looking at the Indian struggle to independence, is we have people here represented as dots, so we could to truly emphasize that how many people we're talking about. So in this case, there's 350 islanders were evacuated, and they have a dot for every single one of them. And I thought that was just a nice approach of visualizing people.
Yeah. Also about the color choice, at first it was not clear to me why he chose these colors, but then I realized the text says it all, like it's the sinking of the Rainbow Warrior. So it's a really nice touch that it's in the title, and then he applied the colors of the rainbow for each tile of the viz. So
yeah, you're right. I hadn't even picked up on that. That's genius. That's so cool. And I think another thing that Luke did really well here is with these kind of topics, particularly of history, it can be quite difficult to get data. Like you have a lot of story, but sometimes the data itself is hard to come by. But I think he's balanced it really well in terms of like using the data that's available with other design elements like images or maps and things to really kind of balance it out and build a nice, like well-balanced viz.
Yeah, this is something that maybe could be an infographic in like National Geographic or something.
Yeah.
Like absolutely. The data is not, I mean, the data he used is not that much, but it's like the infographic aspect is so strong that it's a really, really healthy balance between the text and representing that small amount of data.
Yeah, absolutely. No, great job, Luke. I think I told you already. I really like this viz. This one is by Lilla. I'm sorry if you're
Lilla. She's Hungarian.
Lilla. Okay, Lilla. Okay, cool. Do you know Lilla?
Not personally, but I'm following her works.
Okay, awesome. So this one looks at serial killers who were active during the 1990s in the United States.
Yeah. I don't think I ever saw 90-degree rotation of this chart. Maybe it exists, maybe it's not, but I loved that this is something new I haven't seen before. But what I'm struggled with is like at first I thought the map is interactive, and then it turned out it's not. And maybe it's a Tableau public, but when I hover over the dots, not all of them, or I don't see why some of them are light and the rest is like this velvet color.
Oh, it's because they weren't active in the 90s, right? So the ones that are in a deep red, like the bright red, those were the serial killers that were active in the 90s, and if they're in the dark red, then they weren't active during
now
that time.
I get it. Okay.
Yeah. One thing that confused me was, and you might know the answer. So we have these. What are we calling this chart? Is it a jump plot?
Jump rope. Yeah. I don't know. I always give them different names.
I call it a jump
something
plot,
with a jump.
Yeah. So I thought like each jump, let's say each line, and I might be wrong, each line represents a serial killer, and then each kind of jump represents let's say somebody they killed, or an episode, let's recall it, or a year they were active. So we have some here that maybe started in 1966 and then didn't do anything again, as we know, until like much later. Whereas there's some like condensed down in mainly in the 90s, really, which is probably why she picked the 90s, where we're seeing like quite regular jumps, right? So that every year they're like committing more killings. Have I interpreted that correctly?
I think the jumps only represent the start and end date of being a serial killer, and maybe the victims and possible victims are just tooltip elements, but I'm not 100% sure. I never did a jump plot before, so I'm not 100% sure how it's constructed.
Okay, that makes sense. So we have the height of the jump represents active years. So like the ones that were like right out here, they were active for like a very long time, like Samuel Little, 1970 to 2005. So I think you're right, because he has a single jump, right? But he obviously killed in multiple years around that time. In that time period. Yeah. One thing I would like on this viz is the ability to highlight particular killers. So maybe I was looking for someone in particular. It would be nice if there was a highlight action so I could actually find that killer.
Yeah. Another like, of course, I just looking at it, I love the design. It's really clean. The color usage is it fits the topic. But I'm a bit lacking the storytelling part. I don't know if this was what Lilla aimed for, but the storytelling is not that strong here.
Yeah, and I feel like we, like you said, we have this map. It's purely, I think, there for design, unless we've not used this correctly. So forgive me if that's not the case, but if that's the case, I would be inclined to maybe remove the map and then use this space to add in some additional storytelling, perhaps. So we have the overall stat that 133 serial killers were active during the 90s, but that's kind of like where it starts and ends. So it'd be quite interesting to learn a little bit more about those killers, maybe the other statistics, and as you say, the story around them. So maybe some annotations, or I don't know, some other interactive elements.
Yeah. If I'm thinking about like me doing this with, then I would probably just wanted to try out a jump plot that I never did before. So I would be like, okay, let's make it Iron Quest. But if I were to tell a story, then yeah, you are completely right. Like I would make some highlights, like for example, Jack Smith killed the most people between the shortest amount of time, and things like that. But yeah, it depends on what the aim was, because aesthetically, it looks pleasing. It's a complicated chart, but of course, if the aim is storytelling, then maybe that aspect could have been highlighted more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. But I do like the fact that it only uses red and white and the black background. I think that's really powerful, and it's fitting for the topic as well. Yeah. Well, thank you for entering. Great job. Next up, we have Jessica Moon, and this is very much 80s themed. And I did laugh when I saw this, Judit, because I know you were going to do a viz on Dirty Dancing or like 80s stuff. Like, and I thought of you when I saw Jessica's viz. I was like, oh, it reminds me of what you were going to do.
Yeah, but what I would have done is like it would have been just one bar chart, and it would have been just the things that existed in 1987, and there would be like one Dirty Dancing and a lot of nothings. So I could have made it like it's like almost zero effort, but yeah.
So we're 1 year out with Jessica's. We're at 1986. So I love this viz. I think it's super fun.
Like the essence of the 80s and 90s, like
yeah, it's spot on the 80s. And I think what I really love about it is that she's included some videos. So we can click through. Let's see, this one, which is the Challenger shuttle. You can actually go and watch a video about that, and then that repeats.
Oh wow!
Down at the bottom, you can watch the trailers of the movies. I think maybe some music videos as well. I just thought that was a really nice kind of touch.
Oh my god! Like, my favorite part is the top movies part. Like that picture fits seamlessly. Like the colors, the pictures. Like it's like I don't know if you had it in other countries, but it looks like a Bravo magazine.
I don't know, Bravo. We probably did. I'm just not very familiar. But you're absolutely right. It's just very 80s, and it fits perfectly. It's great. Yeah. So all of these, you can go and watch. I think like snippets or trailers and things like that, which I thought was nice. And then the same with the songs.
I don't dare to click on anything because it might start a sound. But I will explore it in details. I might have missed the interactivity parts of this one. Like there's more to it than it seems at first sight. So I'm gonna explore it for sure. And I love this 80s style.
Yeah, unfortunately it's come back. I'm gonna say my view's gone, but I like what Jessica did with the top album. So we just focusing on one, so Whitney Houston, and then just putting these stars on top. I thought was like really nice to call out some of like the hits from that album, #1 singles.
I also admire the people who are able to display their links this way. Like I have no clue how they are doing that.
And what she's done a really great job of as well is it's similar to what we saw with Luke's, I guess, in the where we've got top technology and top toy. It's not data per se, but it's presented really nicely. It ties into the story really well, and we can see, a little bit about, how Pages was most popular. And then the Teddy Ruxpin was the most popular toy.
I think this is an exception where when you are not selecting fitting designs and fitting elements works better than if you would have selected something of the same style.
Yeah, agreed. I just noticed the teddy in the corner.
Yeah,
that's great. Like, fantastic job, like Jessica. This couldn't be more on theme.
Yeah,
well done. All right, so the next one is by Ivelina, and this one is looking at what was on my bookshelf in 2021.
Oh, books.
Yeah. This is the books that Ivelina read. It's very much up your street. You did, right?
Yeah.
And I'm impressed because I struggled to read, and I read a lot last year, but I read about 4 books.
Yeah, to be honest, I lost my abilities, so I haven't read a book since November.
Oh,
I don't think
wow.
there was ever a time in my life like this, but
Oh my gosh. Well, maybe you'll get some inspiration from this one.
yeah, maybe
Yeah.
I will.
So I had a look at this earlier, so we can interact with this bit. We obviously have the bookshelf, which represents the different books,
Mm-hmm.
and some like bands at the top, which just key stats on the books that she read, and then we can also sort the books by genre. So if we select like
Oh.
fiction, so that will highlight filter for the fictional books. One thing I struggled to understand was the colors, and I don't know. I think they might just be there for like decoration.
Variety, maybe.
Yeah, because they're all. I think they don't relate as far as I can see to a theme or anything. But they look nice. I think the variety looks good.
Yeah. I mean, I obviously like the topic. Design wise, if you give bigger margins or padding to the dashboard, it would fit a bit nicer. And then there seems to be like a lot of colors. They are like in sync with each other, but maybe I would have used like just different shades of brown and dark blue to make it more consistent. But yeah, this might have been a lot of work. The icons are in line with each other. They are the same style. I really like them. But overall, I mean, using icons and then pictures and a lot of colors can be a bit too much. So I would either use pictures or icons, but it still looks nice.
I agree, and I think that the interactivity is explained, so we can see like that we should sort by genre, and that's very clear. I'm really impressed by the fact that she read books in 4 languages,
Oh,
which is
wow.
amazing. So we have English, Swedish, Bulgarian, and Norwegian, which is incredible. Um, and then, but over on the top authors section, one thing that I couldn't see, and I might have missed it, is the actual author's name. So we have pictures of the authors and then the books that she read by them. So we have these are where she's reading books by the same multiple books by the same author. But one thing we don't have is the author's name.
But if you click on the picture, there's a Wikipedia link coming up.
Oh, okay, I missed that. Okay, so maybe just some instruction on how you can interact with that would be good.
Yeah, and maybe like chart titles, because I can get what the chart is about, but I have to dig in. So maybe if you'd add like um, top authors I read the most books by, or most books read by, or something like this, that would be even more clear for the audience.
Yeah, and one other thing on the bookshelf, I figured out that the length of the bar represented the number of pages. So maybe just a little key to show, like an arrow to say this is the number of pages in each book. Would be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I love the concept. I do love book vizzes, and I've seen a few like this where they've done a bookshelf. I think it works really well.
I always love discovering them because it shows like personality.
Okay, the next one is by Irina.
Irina.
And this is Environmental Education and Tourism in Russia from 2011 to 2020. So first of all, I'd say the design is really clean. Minimal color use, and it looks to be like quite consistent with the greens. One thing I'd say is, so we're looking here at we have some bands which are nice. We get some overall kind of context of the data and the story she's trying to convey. But the focus of this chart here is national parks, but and also how the fact that the area of national parks has tripled in this time period, which is obviously great news. But I feel like that story is lost a little bit because of the state nature reserves, because they're so dominant in that chart. So maybe I would perhaps kind of mute the color of the state nature reserves, or maybe put them in a separate chart, but just to make the national parks like the star of the story.
Yeah. Like one thing that was striking to me at first sight, and it reminded me of one of my old vizzes. There's a visualization I made like 2 or 3 years ago about the books I read, and the goal from my side was to incorporate as many chart types as I could get. And it still has the most amount of likes I ever got. But if I were to be doing it again, I would be using not that many chart types. And I have the same feeling here that there are these bubble bar charts. I don't know if they have a name, but I think like it's nice to try out something like this, but maybe I never thought I would say it, but maybe this could have been a bar chart. And
So, yeah, I would argue that today, if we talk about let's call it a bubble bar chart for consistency, I was looking at this thinking, okay, so how could we do this differently? And it's continuous data, right? So we're looking at the let me just get it right. The number of visitors to ecological trails by year, broken down by different categories, so like museums, visitor centres, and ecological trails. Okay, so we've got the 3 different things here. So the problem with the way it is at the moment is, first of all, we have this kind of like dual bar, I guess. So each year has 2 bars, which are, I think, exactly the same, unless the number's not around kind of like it's not an even 100,000. But the problem we have is what you see happen with stacked bar charts. So the whatever you put at the bottom, so in this case it's ecological trails, will dominate the story, and it makes it very difficult to see the trends of what's going on in any of the categories above. So in this case, visitor centres and museums. And what's really struck me when I was looking at this is I was looking at the numbers at the bottom, which represent the percentage change year on year, and we can see where is it? Well, we have this in visitor centres. We have a kind of minus 26% drop in 2014, and then there's quite a lot of volatility. Like the numbers are going up and down, and that's kind of lost when we look at the chart, because the trend is dominated by what's going on with the category that's on the bottom, which is ecological trails. So I would perhaps think about maybe separating this out into 3 separate charts. So one for museums, one for visitor centres, one for ecological trails, and using a line chart, maybe.
Yeah, that could be a great choice. Yeah, it's a bit confusing. Like it looks like a color blindness test to me a bit. But
it's definitely unique. I've not seen this kind of chart before, and it's a creative way of doing it when you're thinking about like number of visitors. But yeah, I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, and I really appreciate like trying out new things, and I do the same. So I'm not an exception. Like for example, in the chart below, I don't know chart names. I just realized that
radial bar chart.
Radial bar chart. Like this is not that easy to construct. So yeah, I made it once, but I just realized that there's a very fine line when it really makes sense to use that kind of chart. So for example, here, maybe from storytelling point of view, it could be clearer to use a bar chart or a donut chart because I'm a bit struggling to see the differences.
Yeah, that's the limitation of these charts. And dare I say, I built my first one in the last month, and I'm about to do a viz which includes lots of different chart types. So basically, breaking all the rules. But I have good reason. But yeah, as you say, the limitation with this approach is with a couple of things. So like, it's very difficult to compare position in this type of view, whereas if we had the bars and they were nicely aligned, you could easily see which one was like longer than the other one, and that could this whole section, I guess, could be combined into a single bar chart, but it's not as fun, right? So it's
and on the other hand, like I really like people who combine initiatives like learning and doing Iron Quest. Like I value that a lot. So it's really hard to judge and saying, okay, this chart type is not great, because I don't know what was the intention. If the intention was trying out new things, learning, connecting initiatives, then this is a perfect job.
Yeah. And these charts aren't easy. So, well done on managing to get it to work. I struggled when I did one recently.
Yeah, me too. Like, I couldn't do one without a tutorial.
And I do like the storytelling. So we do have, the text throughout, which explains what's going on. We're not just presenting charts without any context. We have that information there, which I think is really nice. And you have that, the story flows throughout the viz. Just one quick thing on the map. Always remember to fix your map. So as soon as I hover over this and zoom out, I kind of end up getting stuck and seeing the whole world. So just a quick tip on maps, just try and fix it to the area that you want to focus on.
Yeah. But nice work.
Yeah, great job, and well done on trying out new things, if that was the intention. I used to do that. I used to challenge myself every viz I did. I'd try a new chart. Okay, so the next one is by Idris. And this one's looking at the Summer Olympics in Atlanta.
Oh, I remember that one. We watched it with my grandparents. That's one of my most vivid memories.
Oh, that's awesome. So I love this viz. So we've got small multiples, and it's really well explained at the top, how to read and interpret what's going on. So for every sport, we can see who got a gold, or which country got a gold, silver, or bronze medal. Every sport has this really cute little icon, and then on the left we have men, and then on the right we have women.
Yeah, that's pretty straightforward. Oh, and there's Hungary. Like we won a lot of.
Which sport is Hungary?
Like canoe, swimming, a lot of swimming we won, but I don't know if swimming is represented here, because like swimming has like I don't know, 1,000 categories.
Yeah,
but we are in handball. Yeah, it's nice to see. This is complex yet simple, and I like this combination.
Yeah, I would usually say don't try and use maps or sport team logos, because you're just going to get kind of color design overload. But I think here it's done very nicely and it's subtle, and I really like it.
Yeah.
One thing I think, I'm not sure if it was meant to be this way or like is an oversight, but if in some of the sports, women, I'm assuming, couldn't participate, or there was some of the sports are gender focused, so there are no kind of medals often for the female side, but if we hover over them, we're still getting a tooltip to say won the bronze medal, won the gold medal, whereas on the other side, that's replaced by the country. So I just you could write a calculation to prevent that coming up where there is no like winner.
Yeah, but then it's weird because okay, I imagine that there are like female and male sports, but wrestling and canoeing, it should be both female and male. That's a bit weird to me.
In 1996, because I know some of them have only brought in or have only opened it up in more recent years.
Okay. Then
I might be wrong.
check.
I've seen I remember a viz, and it was by Wendy. She did a viz on the Olympics, and it looked at like when certain sports were opened up to women, and it was, some of them shocked me because it was like very recently. So that might be why.
I need to check it out. One other thing, then it wasn't conspicuous at first time, but if I scroll down, the background image is pixelated for me, while the top is not. So I don't know if that's intentional, but
yeah, it's the same for me. Interesting.
But otherwise, it's really nice.
Yeah, and I just noticed when we're interacting with it, that if you hover over the icons, you actually get a description of the sport, which I thought was cool.
Yeah, it's super cool. I like it.
Yeah, one thing I would say is just if you have got interactivity, just explain that it's there. So just a simple like note to say hover over the icons for more information, just so people know that it's there, so you don't find it by surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah, well done, Idris. Okay, the next one we have is by DataKo, and this one looks at the a decade of anime. And I think DataKo built this out live on Twitch. I've got a feeling I saw something on social media that
really,
yeah, where people could watch the build live, which is awesome.
I don't know a lot about anime. Like I only watched like one series, and I started another one recently. Yeah. So I have limited knowledge about the topic, but I know they are really popular.
Yeah, me too. I know what it is. I just couldn't tell you much more about the topic. But I mean, in terms of the viz, it's you know it's easy to understand. We can see. So we're looking at the count of TV anime shows, so the number of shows that were aired each year, and they're broken down by genre. So we can each color is a different genre, and that's all clearly kind of stated. And what's quite interesting is the authors kind of explained what they found interesting in the data. So they say it's interesting to note that the anime rated G, which is the red section, decreased all 3 years at the end of the decade. And so I was looking at this thinking, okay, so we're looking at red. It was 100, but 100 was actually in 2017. It went up year on year and then decreased for the last 2 years. But regardless, it is decreasing. But I thought it was interesting then that they took that insight and then looked at then a bump chart below to show the overall. Let me get this right. The overall
like
ratings. So rating. Yeah. So we can see that like despite the number of shows going down, its popularity has maintained like second position throughout. And I thought that was quite a nice kind of approach to storytelling, where you know they found an interesting insight, and then they explored it a little bit more and kind of debunked a potential myth.
Yeah, I also like the how to use button on the top, like where I can hide the intro and then activate the how to use.
That's nice. That swapping kind of, yeah.
I never saw a viz build live on Twitch. There's something changing.
Yes, I just clicked view options. I clicked change it to genre, and the viz has completely changed. I didn't know this was here. So now we're looking at the count by genres. We have primary, subgenre, and not applicable. And then there's instructions on how to use it. So we can select a genre from the drop down at the top right of the dashboard to see how many TV anime were produced each year that include that genre.
Yeah. It would be really nice to get some recommendations. If if I'm just a beginner, then I would like, okay, I would like some anime drama, and here I could find some like best watches. Maybe it's there somewhere. But
Well,
yeah,
we have,
there's more
yeah.
to
I mean, there's
explore.
so many genres, right? That this, so if you go and select a genre, there's a long, long, long list of different ones.
Yeah, but I mean, I might even like this view better than the first one because it resonates to me more.
Yeah, I like the charts on this one more. I think the bump charts at the bottom. There's a lot going on in it. It's explained, right? The story, we've got more variations. I think the limitation of that first view is that not much changed, right? In that
Yeah.
bump chart, like pretty much apart from the PG and R17 plus, like swapping out in 2014 and 2015, and it's some kind of slight variation earlier in the years. Everything is flat. Whereas if we look at it on the genre, there's a lot going on, right?
Yeah.
So I would say, Judit, maybe comedy. If you're going to watch some anime, comedy might be a good one because that looks like it's the most. Well, they're making, yeah, and they're making the most shows, and it's consistently top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might check it out. Like I really started looking at anime recommendations on Netflix a couple of days ago. So I don't know. Maybe I will reach out for recommendations.
One thing, a couple of design things I'd say on this one is, first of all, I would remove the grid lines from the charts. I just think that would make the overall design look nicer, especially when they're appearing against like the dark, like blue background. And then second of all, on the bump charts, we have the bump charts. This is on the genre view. You've got the charts, and then you've got the color code at the bottom, and obviously we have a lot of genres. So there's a lot of different colors, which is fine. I mean, you know, I think in some cases we might be repeating colors, but they're all labeled. But what I would do is actually add the labels to either the beginning or the ends of the lines, and try to change the layout a little bit, and then you could remove this color legend, and there'd be no like to and fro kind of looking, referencing back. Okay, what is blue? Okay, it's action. You'd have it right there in the chart.
Yeah, I was just thinking that maybe if it was live streamed, then that there was a like time constraint. So maybe that's why the grid lines stayed there or something. But it's an interesting approach.
Yeah, and well done for building it live. I mean, that's like iron biz. There's a lot of pressure. It's a great job. Okay. Next up, we have one by Attila. I think.
Yeah, another Hungarian. Like it's so great to see people from my country entering data visualization contests.
That's awesome. I think actually it wasn't, obviously I've had contestants from Hungary before, but I think last year, because I was doing some analysis on this, and I think we had 6 new countries off the top of my head join IronQuest last year. So it's always really exciting to see new people come in and see where they come from.
It's just easier for me to recognize Hungarian names.
I mean, I wouldn't know. Okay, so this one looks at the most decorated Olympic athletes. In terms of the theme, I think this one is, you can break it down by decade yourself. But initially, we're kind of looking at all decades included in the data set. So the way that it works is you can hover over one of the bars to see like which athlete that was. I like the tooltip. I think that's really cool that you can see the number of, it's really nicely designed, and the number of medals that they've won in each category and what they won it for. And then if we go to the how to read section, it describes the view a little bit more and what's going on. And we can see there that it says the top 5 athletes are marked by an Olympic torch. Which I thought was a nice touch.
I think the design is on point, and I love the humor to it, like that call out, like probably born on Krypton.
Yeah, that maybe hover over that to see who it was. So it's Michael Phelps for reference, but that did make me laugh.
And the tooltips are amazing. So the like I'm confusing my left and right side, but the left side of the viz is like it took me away.
Yeah, and the colors look great, and I think the colors, I want to say, represent different sports, but I might have completely misinterpreted that.
I wish okay, maybe, yeah, like I know swimming because we are good at swimming, and the purple seems to be swimming.
Yeah, I'm going around
or
swimming,
water sports.
Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, I was looking for diving. It's not there. But hey, maybe I misinterpreted it. But it looks nice.
I know some of the names like Lochte, Phelps, Katie Ledecky. Those are all Kristina Egerszegi. Those are all swimmers in the purple section. So maybe it's like water sports.
Yeah. But what we can do on the right side is you can find an athlete, you can hover over them, and you can see where they are. I'd say that rather than kind of taking this approach where there's a big block of text of all the names, I would consider using a highlight or a filter or some way of just taking all that text and putting it in a drop down or something, because it's taking up a lot of space, and I think there might be better ways to do it.
Yeah, I would have suggested the same, like maybe a same drop down highlight or like typing in and highlighting, and there could have been like more funny call outs instead of that, like the one that probably born on Krypton. But yeah, it's really nice. I didn't know any works from Attila before, but this is a nice one.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's simple.
Yeah,
easy to read. Yeah, and great job. Thank you for entering. Okay, so the next one we have is by Anne-Sophie, and this one looks at geocaching. And that's, I don't know if you've ever been geocaching or if that's what you call it, but I know what it is, and I haven't been, but I've downloaded apps and I've seen people like doing it around my area, and it just fascinates me. I think it's super fun.
Yeah, like, and just like look at that, how beautiful is this? Like, I'm rarely jealous of vizzes, but this is the kind of whiz I wish it would be mine.
It's so nice. So the fonts, the design, the colors, everything. It's just
yeah. I think maybe this is the best example I've ever seen a lollipop chart used for.
Yeah. And it's that metaphor, like the lollipop. I don't know if it's essential, but it looked like trees.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
It looks like trees.
Yeah. I love it. I think that's, this is obviously a quantified self viz. And with those kind of vizzes, if you are going to share them with anyone other than yourself, I think it's quite important that you add that context, because nobody will know. Like, without that context, I wouldn't know that Anne-Sophie was visiting our family in France, for instance, where you see this like big spike here in the number of times she went. This is the distance from home. Her activities with geocaching. So I like how she's added that story that flows through the whole viz.
Like, if it didn't get Whiz of the Day, I'm nominating it right after the call.
I don't think it did. So yeah, go ahead and nominate it. She's also got a blog post as well that goes with this. We click underneath the viz, you'll see the blog post.
I didn't see this on Twitter, so I need to check it out in details.
Yeah, but I think it's fantastic. And one thing I question if I'm missing something, but in the tooltips, there seems to be like a big white space, and I don't know if that's supposed to be an image or something. To me, it looks like there's something that's not loading properly.
There might be that there's something loading in one of the bubbles, and that's why the white space is there for the rest. But as I'm hovering, it's not loading for me, but maybe the viz can be stored. But yeah, you're right. There something has to be there somewhere.
I think you're right. So if you look at in August, the biggest circle has quite a long list. I think that might be why. Because I think it's a viz in tooltip, right? And I think that's determining the size.
Yeah. I just realized that she's using not a regular tooltip, but another viz. And that's why if she fixed the size of the tooltip so that the longest could fit, that would stay for the rest as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think in this case, you could probably use a regular tooltip. I mean, there's nothing there that I don't think could be achieved with a normal tooltip. I might be wrong.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's fantastic. I'm gonna that's
super impressed.
Yeah, great job. Thank you for entering. All right, the next one is by Anjushree, and this one is on popular dog breeds.
I know this one.
And this is a viz of the day as well.
No wonder why. Like, this is the kind of viz where, like, a radial bump chart, like, there are not a lot of use cases where this could work well, but for this, I think it's perfect. I don't know why, but I find this viz perfect.
Yeah, I love it. I love the font that's in the middle. And you're right. The radial bump chart it just works for some reason. It looks really, it's really like vibrant, and it just looks really nice.
Maybe because the whole concept and the font is so playful that even though I'm hovering over dog breeds, I'm not really interested in like exactly in 2015 French Bulldog was 6. I just want to see the shape because it's so playful and it gives me an overall sense of the timeline. But everything is so playful about this.
Yeah. And it's really clean. Like anything not unnecessary has been taken away. Simple, easy to read. It just looks really good.
And another thing that she's using a lot of colors, and yet it looks nice.
Yeah. It's really nice, I think, how she put the Labrador retriever, which is consistently number 1 on the outside, because that kind of frames the radial. It almost looks like a border, but it's not. And then we have these kind of ones that move around a little bit, like the Dachshund, the more variable kind of ones in the middle. And I think that just helps kind of make it, I don't know, it just sets the scene for me.
Yeah. There's a filter down the viz. And I think, again, it's Tableau public, but it doesn't seem to be working for me.
Oh, it's not working for me. The dog's entry into top 10, that one.
Maybe if I hit refresh, but it's super nice. I just don't know what that should do.
Yeah, it's not working for me either. Because there's more. We've got more than 10. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, we've got more than 10 dogs listed on the left. The radial just looks at the top 10, right? So I imagine maybe this is looking at some more popular ones. Because we look at the top 10 in 2019, the Pembroke Welsh Corgi entered for the first time.
Oh, one of my favorites, the Queen Corgis.
And then I guess the other view would just focus on when dogs came into the top 10, right? Whereas this one looks at when they dropped out, if they dropped out. Yeah.
Maybe it was working at some point, but there was a version change, and it might be fixed. But it's a nice viz.
Yeah.
And it was viz of the day as I remember.
Yeah, she's put that in the title. So yeah.
Ah, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I missed that.
Okay, we've got 2 more left. So the next one is by Ali, and this one looks at 1998.
Yeah.
And specifically the top 20 highest grossing movies of the year.
Yeah, I checked this one out, and just looking at it, it looks super nice. But my first problem with it was that it fits into this one screen, but I would really have to enlarge the browser window to be able to see anything. But when I did, I got the story. I really like the 1999 font with the films in the background, and I of course like the font because I instantly recognize this is Futura. So I like the colors. I just think that maybe, and again, I never thought I would say this so much, but maybe scrolling would have been a bit better option here.
Yeah, I think what's happened here is I think probably Ali's probably done a lot of this in another tool, maybe like Figma or something, and then brought the background through as an image, and then the that we see in the middle is the chart. But then as a result, it's become so small when it's come through to Tableau, it's very like difficult to read, and it's like a little bit blurry, I think. But it looks so nice, and I think when I saw this on Twitter, it was fine because I was on my phone most probably, and I could zoom in, and it was all good. But when you look at the viz on Tableau Public, it's very small. But I love the design. I love the 1998 and the way that you've got those movie posters in the background or images from the movie. And I love the analytical approach. It's just the size.
Yeah, I wanted to say the same, that it just seems like a bar chart, but it has depth to it. Like you have how much they spent on the film, how much money it made, the genre, I guess it's IMDb rating. So there are multiple dimensions to it, and I think he used it really well.
Yeah. One thing I was considering when I was looking at this was, so we have 2 bars for every movies. We have the gross and the budget. I was thinking maybe would it be worth combining that into one metric? So maybe the percentage of the budget, like that. So rather than showing those 2 bars, because I think by showing 2 bars for every movie, on first glance, it might be difficult to see which bar relates to which movie. But if you combined it into one, that might be maybe a more insightful like measure what most profitable movies, for instance. But
I had the same, like when my brain learned that the movie always starts with the orange bar, it was easier. But I needed a bit of a learning time to adjust to that.
Yeah, and I think as well, in the current design, the circles are made in another tool, so they're part of the background image. They're not interactive, and I think it's probably because of the difficulty of doing that with 2 bars and then just putting the make them one of them into lollipops. If you had the single bar, you could make that into a lollipop and have that all in Tableau.
Yeah, like I can't really comment on that because I'm doing the exact same things. So
that's just, and the reason I say that is because the problem we have with this approach is that the bars can go over the top of the circles in this design because you're essentially floating the chart on top.
But that's when you can use multiple layers. So how I'm doing it is that I would do the bar charts, then I would add the bubbles on top as an image, and then I would duplicate the bar charts, but make them 100% transparent so that I got the tooltips and the bubbles are under the chart.
They're all those sneaky little tips you did.
Yeah. If you don't know how to build them, you can always layer.
Okay. There you go, Ali. Secret tips for you. But a great job. Okay. Yeah. The last one is by Aakarsh. and this one is looking at Australia's dominance between 1997 and 2009 in Test cricket. I don't know if you know much about cricket.
Not really.
My dad is a professional cricket umpire, and he's been trying to teach me his whole life, or my whole life, sorry. And I still don't know anything about cricket. This is where I need my Sports Biz Sunday team to explain. So yes, this one is looking at. Let me just go through. So Test cricket in particular, and then Australia. But the reason I pause is because I don't see Australia in the team records chart.
So it's always Australia against someone, like Australia against Bangladesh or Australia against England.
I understand. Okay.
Yeah, I guess it's. But if I look at it, like I love the colors, and like this is the best example, maybe one of the best examples for white space usage we've seen so far. So I really like how airy it is. I just love the chart. What seems a bit out of place for me actually is the title. Like the rest of it is so like elegant, and everything is styled the same. And I don't see the same approach reflected in the title, which is a bit confusing to me.
Yeah, I agree that the viz itself is super clean, loads of white space, everything, it's well explained, you've got a good story. I love the colors. In fact, I think they work really well together. But you're right. So the title is kind of aligned in a non-traditional way. And then we have this almost like very 80s kind of themed retro 1997 2009. It ties into the color palette. It just I agree, it doesn't really kind of tie into the rest of the viz.
Yeah, which is like I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's a shame because the rest of it is like so elegant, so beautiful, and a really, really inline title would just make it pop even more.
Yeah. What I would do is probably center that title, so Australia's dominance, center aligned, and then I'd remove the team logo, I'd put the dates in the same kind of color and font as the title itself, maybe in a smaller size underneath, and then it would be nicely aligned in the middle then.
Yeah, just something really simple as the width itself. Like it's simple yet elegant, and with a simple title, I think this would be a really, really nice looking whiz all together.
Yeah, I do like the consistent use of color in this viz, so you can see that pink is a loss. I love this chart on series. You can see instantly by year how Australia performed against England, and then how Australia completely dominated that. And then I love how, in this, I really like this chart, the radial at the bottom. You can again use the consistent color palette is shown through there.
Yeah, this might be the favorite chart type of sports fans.
Yes, we saw a lot of these last month, and a lot of small multiples as well. There's a little arrow at the bottom, so I'm going to click it to see what happens because there's no instruction. What happened?
Something happened. There's another color popped in the series, like an orangey type. If you scroll up.
Yeah, it's the bottom chart's changing as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so
it's something else. Like previously it was test, and now it says ODI, one day international.
Okay, so now we have it. So if I hadn't clicked that, I wouldn't have known there was a whole nother kind of an analysis behind. So I'd say definitely if you've got any interactivity always make it clear that you can click it or have a little label to say what it does. I would consider in this case, because you're flipping between the two, maybe having a slider. So one side would be Test cricket and one side would be ODI.
Yeah.
And then you could just switch between the two at the top.
Or just a button, but yeah.
But like a button slider. That's what I had in mind.
Yeah. Why it's not a really great example, because people put a lot of effort designing a second view or another page, and it's a shame that people don't get to see it at first sight that this is available.
Yeah, I thought that was a little logo or something. I was like, I'm going to click this and see what happens.
Maybe it works. No, it doesn't work.
What do you mean it doesn't work?
I thought that if I click on the subtitle that says test or ODI, it switches, but it doesn't.
No, I would move that that switch to the top.
Yeah.
And have it maybe near the test and ODI.
Yeah, or if it's not important and that's why it's on the button, then I just wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
But it's a nice perk. I hope no one's listening from the Sports with Sunday team, because I testify that I don't know anything about any sports.
They're probably listening to us laughing their heads off. You can teach us cricket one day. All right. Well, thank you so much, Judit, for joining me today. It was a lot of fun going through those vizzes with you, and hopefully everyone found the feedback to be useful. And hopefully you are going to give Iron Viz a go this year. So as I said, it's just launched yesterday, I think, and the topic, or the day before yesterday, and the topic is visualizing the arts. So I'm really excited to see what people come up with. But thanks again for joining me, Judit. It's been great hosting Iron Quest with you.
Thank you for having me. What a nice collection. It was joyful to look at all of them.